here we are, and this is the darndest election I ever saw, isn't it? This thing's like a long-running episode of Dallas or something, like a song. But I want you to know something. I am mindful of the fact that a lot of people may show up to see me, kind of like going to the zoo, you know, former president, guys out there. And you may think, well, I got a discount about half what that fellow says. After all, they're married. You can't go home tonight if you didn't say half that stuff. Maybe some people do. But I want you to know something. I do love Hillary, but I love my country too, a lot. And those of us who are older will tell you that there comes a time when you realize even if you live to be 100, and a lot of you will, by the way, a lot of you will, particularly younger people, you don't have to be that old. The truth is that Hillary is somewhere or another been an underdog in this race ever since she didn't run Iowa, and I watched her say she was dead in New Hampshire. I watched all the commentators taking odds about whether she was going to lose New Hampshire by 10 or 15 points. Because they really just had a 2.5-day campaign. She gained 16 points in 2.5 days in one. There were lots of Republicans who could have done this job. But they didn't. They weren't part of the in crowd. And what happened? We had to sit there and watch our fellow Americans wait for 5 days to get water in the Superdome. It like it killed us all. We hated it. We were embarrassed. We were hurt. We were pained by it. That's what can happen if you forget you. We'll have a little fun to make it clear that it is very easy to forget you after the election. You got to have your feet on the ground as well as your heart in the right place, as well as your head looking forward. Now think what it is like to be president. If you're not careful, you can think you really are somebody. Well, think about that. You know they play a song every time you walk in the room when you're president. They play Hail to the Chief. For 8 years, man, every time I sail into a room, they play that song. And so, for 3 weeks after I left the White House, I was completely lost because nobody played the song anymore. I didn't know who I was, I didn't know where I was, I was pretty sure I wasn't very important. Nobody played the song. Washington's a traffic nightmare. For everybody but the president, you zip along in a bulletproof limo. You don't even stop at red lights. You have no commuting time to the most famous office in the world. Every night you go to bed in America's finest public housing. And your airplane is so cool, they make movies about it. Now we're laughing, but you get the point. I mean, you can really just think, you know, you're different from everybody else. You're really something. You're not something. It's over like that. I've been out of the White House almost as long as I was in it. If you were the President of the United States, all you are, for a brief period, is the most fortunate public servant on the face of the earth. That is all you are. The fireman that I met on the golf course last summer, he was masquerading as a caddy, supplementing his family's income. He told me he'd always been a Republican until 9/11. But he was a captain in the New York City Fire Department. He said, you know, we were trying to save lives, and then we were trying to identify remains, and we were crawling around through all that stuff. You remember all that stuff in the atmosphere you saw after 9/11? What you were looking at was asbestos, PCBs, and benzene, 3 well-known cancer-causing agents. He said, you know, the president we all voted for, he said we didn't need any extra help diagnosing these things aggressively and getting aggressive care. He said, but my senator, your wife, was the first person who knew that a lot of us would get sick and some of us could die because of it. She was the first person and sometimes the only person who was always fighting for us. And because of her, we got the help we needed, and some of us who would have died are alive. He said, even those who didn't make it, their families have the dignity of knowing that their country stood with them in a terrible time. And this guy looked at me. I'm standing on a golf course on a green with this caddy talking to me like that, and I was about in crying like a baby because that's the person I've known all my life. And he looked at me and he said, I don't know what I think about politics anymore. I don't know if I'm a Republican anymore now, but I do know this. That's the kind of person who ought to be president. Somebody who knows and cares. Then you work back to who you ought to support for president. I don't think it's close. I believe that if you vote for her and her plans are implemented, you will have more prosperity, more broadly shared than you did when I was president. That's what I honestly believe. I believe if you vote for her, you'll be immensely proud that she's your commander-in-chief, and you'll be really proud that she has the support of people in the armed services to lead America to a more peaceful future, a more cooperative future. With all my heart, I hope Kentucky will say yes to Hillary. Thank you.
Here we go. Now he's coming this way. Nice to meet you. Mr. President. Mr. President, is Hillary going to help the first responders in 9/11?
You bet.
Is she? Because my friend Kevin McPadden is a first responder. He heard a countdown to Building 7 and said there were bombs inside those buildings. Do you have a comment?
Yes.
Do you have a comment, sir? Mr. President, do you have a comment on bombs inside the buildings in 9/11?
Thank you very much.
That's how it's done. That's for you, Luke. And for you, Kevin. Keep up the faith.